Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're driving into a massive conceptual journey, and I gotta tell you, this one completely blew my mind. We are gonna bridge two worlds that on the surface seem completely disconnected. We're tracing a direct line from the macro, high-stakes philosophy of modern venture capital all the way down to the n-dimensional exact mathematics of silicon microchips. I know, bridging venture capital to the physical behavior of a microchip is a wild shift, right? But it's absolutely crucial, because it is exactly how we secure true creator sovereignty in the digital age. It's a fascinating puzzle, and I really can't wait to unpack this with you.
To kick things off, look at this brutal quote from the sources. It perfectly captures the harsh reality of the old, broken venture capital system. They don't really care if the horse is killed as long as there is one winning. Just let that sink in for a second. It literally treats founders and their companies like disposable lottery tickets. The priority is just rapid scale and artificial metrics, completely ignoring the immense collateral damage, the burned-out creators and the wasted technological innovation left behind when those speculative companies inevitably crash and burn.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by looking at the VC casino crisis, move into the VC publishing house model, zoom in on metabolic compute capital, break down the orb swap superellipse invariant, and finally, look at archiving true creator wins.
All right, Section 1, the VC casino crisis, liquidator versus legitimacy.
We are seeing this massive philosophical clash right now in how new technological infrastructure actually gets funded. On one side, you've got the liquidator VC, and it operates exactly like a frantic Las Vegas casino floor. It's totally extractive, they're placing aggressive bets, riding wild two-year speculative hype cycles, and aiming for rapid short-term payouts. To them, it's just a numbers game. But directly opposing that, we have legitimacy VC. This model completely abandons the whole casino vibe. Instead, it functions much more like a 10-year vineyard. Think about it. You don't strip mine a vineyard for a quick payoff, right? You plant seeds, weather the seasons, and meticulously cultivate a yield that sustains and compounds over a full decade. The whole shebang is about building a high-trust ecosystem.
Now consider this staggering number, 250,000. That is the estimated number of active, overlapping patents on a single modern smartphone. Let that put things into perspective. This perfectly illustrates the patent thicket we live in today. It's this dense web of exclusionary corporate monopolies that you literally have to hack your way through just to innovate. It's a completely hostile environment that crushes everyday creators. It basically acts as a massive legal wall, keeping independent invention totally locked out.
Moving on to Section 2, the VC publishing house, a paradigm shift.
So, to survive that hostile patent thicket we just talked about, we need a massive shift toward Providence VC, which is a system built on undeniable mathematical truth. Under this new paradigm, modern venture networks are acting much more like an agentic publishing house or a clearinghouse. Think of a traditional publisher. They don't just print paper. They edit, they archive, and they validate the work. In the exact same way, the venture capital publishing model curates and distributes technical material to build strategic authority. The VC's real job here is clinical stewardship. They are ensuring a creator's undeniable truth, what the sources beautifully refer to as their record of sweat, is clinically validated and permanently secured in the digital archives.
And to actually publish that record of sweat, VCs have to provide something entirely new. It's defined as compute capital. Actually, scratch the old model where firms are just writing financial checks. Now they are exchanging literal high-performance AI computing power for equity. Think of it as metabolic capital. They aren't just handing you cash, they are providing the massive physical engine, the literal raw compute required to realize your vision at scale and build out these high-trust digital ecosystems. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to Section 3, metabolic compute capital and the semiotic bridge.
Now, we're going to zoom in closer, shifting from the macroeconomics of the publishing house down to the exact physical execution of code. Here, we map out how human imagination actually crosses the semiotic bridge. Step 1 is OS alpha, basically the messy, abstract realm of human thought and intent. Step 2 is the bridge itself, strictly formatted text, like JSON. And step 3 is the ALU, the arithmetic logic unit. That's the rigid silicon hardware actually executing the commands. Pure text is literally the only lossless pipeline that can translate our fuzzy, abstract human imagination down into exact physical action, completely bypassing that unpredictable, automated miasma of the cloud.
Which leads us right to this absolutely critical question. How do we actually build this perfect mathematical trust down at the microscopic silicon level?
Like, how do we ensure that the systems trading our assets and protecting our code are structurally flawless?
Let's find out in Section 4, Orb Swap, Super Ellipse Invariant, the micromechanics.
Okay, this is where it gets incredibly exciting. Orb swap is a massive architectural breakthrough. It takes the surgical precision of Uniswap v3 and literally collides it head-on with the bulletproof stability of Curve. It utilizes a multi-token stability engine, and by using a warped, concentrated liquidity model, capital efficiency doesn't just scale here. It multiplies exponentially by hyper-focusing liquidity exactly where it's needed most.
At the very core of this is the super ellipse invariant. Honestly, when I was looking into this, trying to visualize it was a total trip. I know it sounds dense, but imagine n-dimensional spherical caps orbiting around each other until they form a generalized higher-dimensional donut shape. A torus. This specific geometry allows for massive stablecoin pools with a single, highly efficient structure without fragmenting the liquidity. It's brilliant.
And here is the real magic. Traditional market makers trade by moving in straight, jagged lines on a standard graph. Orb swap replaces that entirely. By using polar coordinates, complex swaps become highly efficient circular rotations around a focal point. Compiled right down into low-level Rust bytecode, this self-correcting invariant eliminates complex, expensive tick management and ensures fair pricing, for sure, even during severe market depegs. It is pure deterministic truth at the protocol level.
Zooming back out now for Section 5, Archiving True Creator Wins. Sovereign Technology.
So how does this insane math actually secure human agency? Well, we have to contrast the legacy legal framework with this new legal engineering. On the left, standard patents act as exclusionary monopolies. They are massive legal walls that allow corporate giants to hoard value. But look on the right. Tools like the EGPL act as a defensive shield. It's a proactive copyleft poison pill, meaning if a massive closed-source AI tries to scrape your code, the protocol forces them to immediately disclose their source code. It literally turns intellectual property law from a corporate weapon into a creator's shield, keeping founders firmly in the driver's seat.
And these Web3 primitives synthesized to act as the ultimate clinical validator. We use LIFO JSON state trees. Think of it as a perfect, unalterable accounting ledger where you only ever need to look at index 0 to prove truth. Then we add ERC6969, which is basically an automated micro-royalty system flowing straight back to the author. Together, they create what we call permissionless patents, where compensation is hard-coded right into the silicon. The code remains open and free, but it permanently archives the true record of SWIFT.
As the very architecture of trust and funding fundamentally shifts beneath our feet, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Where will you invest your intent? Will you choose the fast, extractive, ultimately disposable casino of the liquidator VC, or are you going to build and invest in the sustainable, mathematically sound, compounding vineyard of the legitimacy VC? The future of how we innovate and whether true digital sovereignty actually survives depends entirely on your answer. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building.